Elites, what's going on? We live action. You already know what it is. I'm here to bring you yet another real world topic video. Now, of course, I get subscribers every single day. So the thing is, I have to say this at the beginning of all of my real world topics so that you would get familiar with it. My real world topics, I discuss, of course, real world topics, and they will not pertain anything anime, manga, or video games, anything of that nature. And now we're back to basics with people sending me requests to talk about certain topics. Because as we see the last video request, the real world topic, it was just something I wanted to discuss. And naturally, for privacy and respect reasons, I never reveal the individual's name or alias unless they want me to. That happened only one time before, but 9 times out of 10, they never do. And that's cool. You know, I understand. So, with this one, this was received to me over Facebook, and he writes as follows. He says, I'm dating a girl, she's a little younger than me, I'm 23, she's 19. Anyway, I went by her house, and it was me, her, and her mom. Then I met her dad, and me and her mom go to the same church, by the way. So when I met her dad, he was asking me the traditional questions, like what's my name and stuff like that. Then later on, he gives me a ride home. But when I got home, I called my girl, and she told me what happened, that her mom, dad, and grandma jumped on her about saying that I look like I'm no good for her, and I look like one of those bad boys just because I'm wearing a hat. Like, what's up with that? And where I live may not be the best place to live, and the people out here are not my kind of crowd, so I don't talk to them at all or anything. I see them and they see me, and that's it. And he also goes on to tell her, look at where I live and look at how I dress. Nothing good could come of him. I may not have a job, nor am I in school at the moment, but I'm looking for a job so I can put myself through school and stuff. Then he says, I'm all over the place with this, and it seems like they have jumped the gun and misjudged me, and they are way off. And she couldn't defend me because they ganged up on her, and they told her to break up with me. And also, I love her more than anything, and I would like your input on what I should do because I want to sit down and tell them that they got me all wrong. I'm nothing like what they see in their head. Now, alright, now this situation is very interesting. I can semi-relate, but let's get into this. Alright, first thing first. Oh man, okay. You're going about it the right way. Okay, it's good that you say you want to sit down with them and, you know, let them know they got it all wrong. And unfortunately, you know, the mother, like you said, you all go to the same church. And it seems like it's just messed up that, you know, she goes to church and she's still acting like this, being very judgmental. And naturally with parents, you know, they want the best for their child and they have good intentions, but they can go about it the wrong way. Now fathers, you know, they can be extra protective over their child, especially the daughter. Oh, by the way, this individual, he sent me an even longer, more detailed version of it, and that was even better because I didn't read it because it was way long. You know, it would taken up too much time. But the good thing is, I was glad he did that because when someone sent me a request regarding videos about this, it's good that you send more detailed information because it'll help me out in the long run. Actually, no, it'll help me out, and then in the long run, it'll help you out. So anyway, it's messed up that the mother would do that. Like I said, parents, they want the best for their child. They have good intentions, but they go about it the wrong way. Now, unfortunately, this makes me think of the term being a product of your environment. Now, in the situation like this, I mean, that situation, with them looking at you like that, it can be 50% true and 50% untrue. And this is the thing. I know a lot of people. I see people. And I've known people. Alright? They have become a product of their own environment. It's a messed up thing. It's a sad thing. However, in some cases, it can be a good thing. Some good can come out of that, depending on your environment. However, for the ones like, let's see, one of my homeboys, real cool dude, you know, real cool, excuse me. Oh yeah, real cool dude, but unfortunately, that's the case with him. You know, he's not a bad person for that, but it's really the case with my friend. Now, for the ones who are not a product of their own environment like you, I have a cousin like that. He grew up in some very rough areas of this city. Very rough areas. He had it kind of hard growing up. I'm not even going to say kind of hard. He had it hard growing up. But you know what? If you was to meet him, you would never would have guessed. Never. Never. But when some people grow up in rough neighborhoods, excuse me, or when they're hood bound, it just gets implanted in their mental psyche. You know, it just takes them over. You know, the way they talk, walk, act, dress. But we all know the classic saying, you know, no one can judge me but God. You know, it's not good to judge. Now the father, okay, this guy, I look at that as a coward move. You know, what he did, all of them, what they did was messed up. But with him, I would expect the females to do that. You know, the mother and the grandmother. You know, I would expect that. But I would expect him to address the issue to your face, you know, like a man. But yeah, he drops you off. And then he goes back to his daughter and starts chirping. But with her being 19, I noticed in your the next description you gave me, you said that if she said anything, they always just tell her like, oh, you're childish, you don't know anything, whatever. It seems like with that type of situation, yes, by law, 19, she's legal. But in a lot of people's minds, especially her parents, they're like, okay, what do you know? You're still young, you're 19, or you still stay at home and you don't have that, you never really been through life. They're gonna look at her like that. But it's messed up that they actually think, and I did read this part also, that they think you're gonna bring her down or mess up her studies with her classes or you know whatnot. And it's good that you also said in the next detailed message you sent me that you all want to wait, that you both want to wait to marriage, you know, before you have sex. And they should just look at the fact that their daughter is happy. Of course, I know they're looking at the bigger picture for what's good for her in her life. But at the same time, like I said, they should just look at that she's happy. You know, you don't cause no drama in her life. You don't cause any problems with the family. And as far as them judging you by the way you dress and the hat you wore, I mean, it's unfortunate that you have people like that. I mean, it's jobs like that. It's jobs out here you can't get because of a certain hairstyle. Like if you got braids, a cornrow straight to the back, I know jobs, they won't even hire you. I've had jobs where I know for a fact my cousin wanted to hook me up with him. I mean, my cousin wanted me to hook him up with that job. I said, I can't. You got cornrows. It was at a nice, classy restaurant. They were hiring for a front host. They didn't want that image. It's unfortunate the way society is. But that's employment and whatnot. Back to the parents. How they say never judge a book by its cover. On the outside looking in, they, like I said, they probably looked at it like, okay, baggy jeans, fitted cap. You know, I guess maybe you had a tall tee. I don't know. I don't know if you had any jewelry or whatnot. But they matched up with what you were wearing. Then they matched it up with where you're from. And then, like you said in your next message, they asked about the past you had with your father and etc. And they just automatically made some assumption. And like you said, they don't even really know you, and they haven't even sat down to talk to you. So, if I can understand your point of view, how you say it made you really upset. Your girl was crying, you know, and she was saying she can't believe they say those things about you, and they would think that you're a bad person, and you would try to bring her down, and you know, and no one wants to hear the girlfriend cry, especially over a situation like this. But it is so messed up. Like I fear for you when you say these things, how you said they never even sat down and really got to know you. They just made these false assumptions. So like I said, you're going about it the right way. I just want to talk to them. Now, of course, the way I can semi-relate to this is one of my exes. She was younger than me. She was legal, but she was younger than me, naturally, okay? With the fathers, you know, they're like, okay, I'm a guy, you're a guy, I already know what it is, yada yada. They automatically think, you know, every guy are dogs. Speaking of which, also the key thing with this is what you said her mother was saying in the next message you sent me, how all guys just want sex. They're gonna hit it and quit it, get the girl pregnant and leave. And like you said, you're not like that. You really like her, you really love this girl. You're not cut like that. And the messed up thing is they're not taking your word for it. Anyway, my ex, the father, he didn't like me. Didn't know a damn thing about me. He didn't like me. I have my own spot. I'm working. I don't drink or smoke. I'm not out there in the street. I don't do none of that stuff. You know, I like this daughter. Of course, you know, guess what? I took her in. Yeah, that's right. This is that girl I was just talking about in my last Real World Topic video. You know, so he didn't like me because I was older than her. So automatically in his mind, he's thinking like, he's probably taking advantage of my daughter. She has this young mind. He could just tell her what she wants to hear, put this seed in her mind, and have her hypnotized, pulling her strings. But that wasn't the case. And the fact of the matter is, you know, that's really really messed up how he's being very judgmental, especially without knowing the facts. You know, no one should judge anyone, but if you're gonna judge and criticize, at least know the person first. All right, like you said, he just met you. That's the crazy thing about it. But anyway, so of course I took her in, as we all know. That shows right there I really cared about her, because not everyone is gonna do that, especially when that individual do not have no money, no job, nothing. They're not, only thing they're contributing to your place is having your bills increase. That's it. I mean, naturally, when your girlfriend stays with you, yes, that's automatic sex. Yes, that was going down, but that wasn't good, man. It's, you know, the whole thing with the sex, like I said, number one, it was automatic, plus I'm not pressed. People who are pressed for sex are the ones who barely get it, or it's hard to get. It's not hard for me to get, and it's not like I'm just thinking like, dang, yo, I'm really getting. No, so I have bills, and like I said, it was out of nowhere. She just called up, I gotta come stay with you, yada yada. I'm like, what the like? I'm trying to work things out and get everything level. You know, she's increasing things. I have to have a talk with her with the budget. Anyway, the father. Did I get a thank you? Did I get a message or call saying anything like, hey man, I know we had our differences, man, but you know, I want to thank you for at least, you know, giving my daughter some shelter, or not kicking her out completely, like literally kick her out on the street and whatnot at night and whatnot, and nothing. Last time I seen that guy, he just gave me a dirty glance. That's it. I'm not saying he had to give me a whole paragraph of thank yous. I'm not even saying, you know, okay, fine, you don't want to speak, all right, that's cool. But he could at least give me a gesture or something like, hey, what's up, you know, something. But I'm like, all right, that just goes to show what kind of man you are. Fine. But that's the thing, just sit them down. And of course, they're going to look at they already judged you. Now they're going to look at to see how your vocabulary skills are. Naturally, when you're frustrated, or when you want to really say what's on your mind, depending on the situation or where you are, especially in this situation, an interview, anything, you have to really translate your words into a way that will fit the conversation subject or the scenario. So, you know, they're gonna look at it like, okay, you're from this ragtag area, you're dressed like this, now you're probably gonna be talking like a buffoon, or etc. So I suggest going to the father. Bring it up to the father. If you can, bring it up to all of them, but bring it up to the father. And the reason why I say bring it up to the father, because naturally he's a grown man, even though he didn't pull a grown man move by talking about you behind your back to the daughter. Instead of addressing it to your face, step to him. I'll say step to him, not like step to him in that aggressive way, but approach him and bring up this matter. Tell him you like to have a talk and clear the air, and say, you know, I understand there's been a misunderstanding about my character, and let them know, you know, you're not like the way that they say you are, and that you should not be judged by the area you live in, because we don't choose to be born. We don't get to choose our parents. So it's not your fault that you were raised in the area you were raised in. And naturally they always jump to the conclusion. A lot of people do this. They say, oh, he has no job, excuse me. Oh yeah. They say, oh, he has no job. He's not doing anything. He's not doing that. The funny thing is, they don't, like, how do they know that, like you said, you are busting your ass off trying to find a job so you can pay through school. And the thing is, I know how it is to look for a job. It's not easy to get a job. And then it's even harder to get a good job. There's a difference between a job, a good job, and a career. But anyway, they don't know what you do on your daily basis. They don't know how many apps you put in and whatnot. They're making false accusations based off of something so stupid in my book. So, unfortunately, they just think you're a product of your own environment. They think you're gonna just mess up their daughter's life. And naturally, like I said earlier, they want nothing but good things for her. Unfortunately, they only want selective happiness for her. And what that means is, yes, they know she's happy with you. Oh, but they don't care. They only want her to be happy with this certain thing in life, this certain thing, this certain thing. But it makes me wonder, excuse me, how would the situation play out if she was, let's see, on her own. Naturally, even when you're on your own, your parents are still going to care. But I think if she was on her own, had her own place, you know, whatnot, they will probably say, you know, they will probably still say the same thing, but it probably wouldn't be to this degree. But at least, you know, they're not saying stay away from from her, or don't come over here or whatnot. At least they're not saying that. Maybe they do see some good in you, but maybe they're highly skeptical because they're stereotyping, you know, the way they're looking at you. Like it is crazy and messed up. So that's what I suggest. Approach them in a good mannerable way. Of course, you seem like a regular cool dude. I think they're jumping to accusations. I'm pretty sure if I was to meet you, I wouldn't think like, oh man, you a hood-ridden ragamuffin, man. Like, you know. So yeah, I'm pretty like just prove them wrong. And real quick before I end this video, I've been judged by where I'm from. Yes, of course, in different categories. Naturally, so many people, when I first got on YouTube, so many people were shocked that I was from here. And the reputation, what this city is known for, it's some good things, but it's a lot of bad things. Oh man, it's violent, looks like a nuke hit it, then a murder capital, it's this and that, crazy people, whatever. And people, they automatically think that I'm like everybody else in the city, and that's not the case. There are a very, very, very few good places in this, or good neighborhoods in this city that's labeled as good, that's not labeled as hood, because I wasn't born and raised in the hood, but people judged me by that. All right, they would look at me like, they would call me, you know, spoiled, pretty boy, goody two shoes, whatever. But look, like I said, hey, hey, this was not my decision to be here. It's not, we don't pick our parents. It's not my fault my father worked for the city and my mother works for Medicare. It's not my fault that, I don't, it's not my fault. So people, it seems like people would judge you no matter what, whether by the way you're dressed, from where you're from, whatever. But sometimes they can be right and they can be wrong. Like I said, my homeboy, yes, he is a product of his environment. He is. Like people, you got people say, hey, this is all I know. The hood is all I know. The streets is all I know. Even though life is what we make it. It's full of choices. I honestly believe, to some degree, you choose for this to be all you know. And it's in a degree. Sometimes it can get implanted into your mind. All right. Maybe you do pick up Ebonics, urban slang. Every now and then I use Ebonics or urban slang. Or some just say, just straight up style, that, the city people have, or black folks, whatever you want to call it. But all in all, that's my whole thoughts about it. So do that. Or hell, if you want to even have her with you, have all y'all sit down. You, her, the grandmother, the father, and the mother. Do that. Hopefully it'll be calm. It'll go by smooth. Communication is the key. Hopefully everyone will be understanding, no tones, get out of tone. It'll be cool, but yeah, do that. That's what I would do. I know you asked for my advice. That's what I do. Just step to, like, what's the worst that could happen, you know? But keep me updated about what happened. For the rest of the viewers, if you would like, give your input, give your thoughts on what you would do, what you wouldn't do, whatever. But all in all, thanks for sending me this request, and thanks for watching this video. This is the Elite Ace signing out.